Hey, level casters. Today's lesson takes us on a journey back in time, to one of the most important moments in history, the fall of the Roman Empire. This wasn't a sudden event, like a building collapsing. Instead, it was a long, slow process, like a very old tree gradually losing its leaves. We're going to explore what happened, why it was so significant, and how it still affects us today. Imagine a superpower, like the United States or China, slowly losing its strength and breaking apart. That's a bit like what happened to Rome. For centuries, the Roman Empire was the most powerful force in the Western world, controlling vast territories from Britain to North Africa, and from Spain to the Middle East. It gave us laws, engineering, language, and culture that are still important today. But even the strongest empires can face challenges that are too great to overcome. We'll look at the key problems that led to its decline and eventual collapse in the West. Don't worry if history isn't usually your favorite subject. We'll tell this story in a way that's easy to understand and engaging. Think of it as a mystery, where we're trying to find out why such a powerful empire eventually fell. We'll start by setting the scene and understanding what made Rome so great in the first place, before moving on to the troubles that began to appear. Get ready to learn some fascinating history and expand your English vocabulary at the same time. For hundreds of years, the Roman Empire was a beacon of civilization. Its armies were unbeatable, its roads connected distant lands, and its cities were centers of trade and learning. However, by the 3rd century AD, cracks began to show. The empire became too big to manage easily. Imagine trying to control a country that stretches across several continents without modern communication. This massive size meant that emperors had trouble keeping control of all their provinces. Messages took weeks or even months to travel. Soldiers had to be stationed far from Rome, making it hard to defend all borders at once. One major problem was the constant threat from outside. Various groups, often called barbarians by the Romans, though they were just other peoples living outside the empire's borders, frequently attacked Roman land. These attacks cost a lot of money and many lives. To pay for the army and for wars, the government had to collect more and more taxes. This made life very difficult for ordinary citizens, especially farmers and merchants. The economy also started to suffer. Trade routes became less safe because of the attacks, and the government even started making coins with less precious metal in them, which led to inflation. Prices went up, and money was worth less. This economic instability made people unhappy and less loyal to the empire. Politically, things were also messy. Emperors often didn't rule for very long. There were many civil wars, where different Roman generals fought each other for power. This constant fighting weakened the empire from the inside, diverting resources and attention away from external threats. Imagine a country where leaders are changed every few years, often by force. It creates a lot of instability. This period of internal strife and external pressure set the stage for the empire's eventual decline. The Roman people began to lose faith in their leaders and their future. The situation grew worse in the 4th and 5th centuries. The empire was so large and difficult to defend that it was eventually split into two parts: the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire, which later became the Byzantine Empire. While the East, with its capital in Constantinople, remained strong for many more centuries, the West was in serious trouble. The constant pressure from barbarian tribes became unbearable. Groups like the Goths, Vandals, and Huns moved into Roman territory, often pushed by other groups or seeking better lands and resources. These weren't just small raids, they were large-scale migrations and invasions. Rome itself, the Eternal City, was sacked, meaning it was attacked and plundered, by the Visigoths in 410 AD, a shocking event for everyone at the time. Imagine the most powerful city in the world being invaded. It showed how vulnerable the empire had become. The Roman army, once the greatest fighting force, was no longer as effective. It was often made up of non-Romans, who sometimes had more loyalty to their own leaders than to the Roman emperor. The central government in Rome struggled to pay these soldiers and maintain control. Local leaders and landowners became more powerful, as they had to defend their own areas. The emperors in the West became weaker and weaker, often just puppets controlled by powerful generals. The people living in the empire faced poverty, disease, and constant fear. The old Roman way of life, with its grand public buildings, baths, and theaters, slowly faded away in many areas. The infrastructure, like roads and aqueducts, began to fall into disrepair. The climax of this long decline is often marked by the year 476 AD. In this year, the last Western Roman emperor, a young boy named Romulus Augustulus, was removed from power by a Germanic chieftain named Odoacer. This wasn't a huge battle, but a symbolic end. There was no new emperor appointed in the West. This event is widely considered the official fall of the Western Roman Empire. So, what happened after 476 AD? The fall of the Western Roman Empire didn't mean that everything disappeared overnight. Life for many ordinary people continued, but it changed drastically. The vast Roman system of government, law, and military rule was gone in the West. Europe entered a period often called the Dark Ages by some historians, characterized by less central government, less trade, and less advanced learning in many regions. Local kingdoms, often ruled by the very barbarian groups who had pushed into Roman territory, began to form. For example, the Franks established a powerful kingdom in what is now France, and the Anglo-Saxons settled in Britain. However, the legacy of Rome did not vanish completely. Latin, the language of the Romans, evolved into the Romance languages we know today, like French, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. Roman law and ideas about government influenced future legal systems. The Roman Catholic Church, which had grown within the empire, became a powerful unifying force in medieval Europe, preserving much of Roman culture and learning. The Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, continued to flourish for another 1,000 years, preserving Roman traditions and knowledge. The fall of the Western Roman Empire was a turning point. It marked the end of ancient history and the beginning of the Middle Ages in Europe. It shows us that even the most powerful empires can eventually decline due to a combination of internal weaknesses and external pressures. It's a powerful reminder that nothing lasts forever, and that societies are constantly changing and adapting. The reasons for Rome's fall are complex, and historians still debate their relative importance, but understanding them helps us understand how societies rise and fall, and how our world was shaped.
That was a really interesting story.
Yes, the fall of Rome is fascinating.
It wasn't one single reason, was it?
No, many things caused it.
The empire was too big.
And too hard to defend.
Taxes were a big problem.
People didn't like them.
And the army got weaker.
Yes, they lost many battles.
The barbarians moved in.
That was a huge pressure.
Rome was even attacked.
Imagine that happening.
What about the year 476 AD?
That was the official end.
But things changed slowly.
Exactly, it wasn't sudden.
Rome's ideas still live on.
Language and law, for example.
It's a great lesson for us.
I agree. Keep learning, Levelcasters.
That's all for today. Keep it up, and we'll see you in the next Levelcast lesson.